So good morning, everybody. I just wanted to thank you guys all for listening to our proposal presentation. We're all very excited to present to you why we are the best contractor for the Fred D. Thompson U.S. Courthouse Federal Building. We are Keen Action Construction from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. I am David Regan. I'm the project manager.
I'm Bart Schaefer. I'm the senior superintendent.
I'm Bailey McGuire, and I'm the safety manager.
I'm Joe Cabral. I'm the structural project engineer. And for our management team that can't be with us today, we have our president, Gretchen, our architectural project engineer, Cheryl, our lead estimator, Brittany, and our quality control manager, Cole. A little bit of our company background: we were founded in 1957, so we have about 63 years of experience. We have been employee-owned as of 1973, and we currently employ 5,500 people. Our main office is in Nashville, Tennessee, and we were recently ranked 29th on the Engineering News Records Top 400 Contractors list. All decisions made are guided by our 5 core values, being hard work, family, safety, communication, and integrity. A few jobs that we've completed in the past include the Metro Davidson County Detention Facility, the Brentwood City Hall, the Nashville International Airport, the Belmont University Legal Building, and the Church Street Park / Paramount Tower. And it is in a good faith effort that we strive to employ 10% NWDVBE within our workforce. Our management is very focused on safety, and because of that, we have maintained a 0.61 EMR rating throughout all of our jobs, and we are ABC Diamond Step accredited. And throughout all of our jobs, we are very big on quality testing and inspection.
Under our project estimate, our total project estimate came out to $38 million. Just a few major cost items. Concrete came out to $4.4 million. That includes the cast in place and the precast. The metals was $10.5 million for structural steel, $850,000 for miscellaneous metals, railings, and things of that nature, and $300,000 for decorative railings and site furnishings on the outside. That total was $11.7 million. For openings, $2 million for glazing, $150,000 for doors. An emphasis on the doors. A lot of our doors that will be installed are maintain a high site security, being bulletproof, and other things that help secure the people on the inside. When we go to finishings, $750,000 was for painting, framing, and drywalling, $100,000 for tile and stone, and $145,000 for the acoustical ceiling tiles, for a total of $1.4 million. For the mechanical, $2.45 million for all the units, piping, and pipe installation, and a $50,000 allocation for the commissioning turnkey of the units. When it comes to the electrical, we have a $3 million lump sum bid of the conduit, wiring, and low voltage systems, with big emphasis on site security. When it comes to site utilization, we broke this out into 5 phases. Phase 1 being the northwest corner, Phase 2 being this northeast corner. The thing to note for the first 2 phases is we have our 2 entrances, one in the west and one in the east, both leading to the south entrance. We believe that this maximizes the efficiency, allowing 2 concrete trucks to come in from 2 entrances, turn around, back up to a concrete pump that'll efficiently pump concrete to the allocated areas, as well as having deliveries for steel beams in a safe area for the crane to lift, and a safe area for the trucks to come in and out without having to make any too rigorous of turns or anything dangerous on our site. When we move to Phase 3, we lose the east entrance to deliveries, but this will still be an entrance and a checkpoint for security in COVID, and also an emergency exit to our site. We'll still have the west entrance leading to the south. Same for Phase 4. And for Phase 5, this will be our final site improvements that will be completed towards the end of the project.
Moving on to project sequencing. Once we're notice of the award, we're going to move right into our notice to proceed. Our permits go into mobilization, bringing in the job trailers, our garbage recycling, subcontractor trailers. Start with our earthwork and mass excavation later in June with our foundations and underground, completing electrical vault. Moving into our steel erection, completing our north and south wing towards the end of October. Moving into our precast erection and our glazing erection in early February. Then we have our north drying complete at the end of November of 2020. Once we have the concrete placed on the metal decking, we will move forward with temporary power throughout the north wing and the south wing, going into our permanent power by early March, our site utilities and our fire alarm testing by June 1st. We'll have a pre-punch list June 1st. Our elevators, early June, which is more of a finishing for the elevators. We'll have our conditioned air and our interior build-out complete by July 14th. And our AHJ inspection and closeout and receive our certification occupancy by July 16th of 2021. And we'll have our touch-up and site improvements and our handover the keys on July 27th, 2021.
So now we're going to move into safety. We were asked to fill out a activity hazard analysis for the precast concrete. Obviously, with the precast concrete, we're going to have many critical lifts on site. So we went through and kind of wrote down the principal steps that we wanted to go through, the order of job steps, potential hazards that we might have, and how we were going to fix those problems and make sure that everything went smoothly. Again, here's some equipment and tools that we use, the crane, rigging, hoisting clans, also competent people that will be on site to help with the crane lift. Also, I would like to mention that this is just a sample, again, when construction sites are always changing. So the day before or day of that we're performing these crane picks, we want to make sure that we are updating this and of this lift. So again, this is our crane layout for phase 2. We have 4 different phases. So we have different crane layout, or 5 different phases and 4 crane layout phases. The red circle is a line for the maximum extension of the crane. Although you do see that on the east and west side, they do extend over out into the road. So the blue circle is what we will make sure that the crane operator and anybody who's involved with the crane pick knows that we are not allowed to exceed outside the limits of the site itself and the perimeter fence. This is to limit any lifting over anything that's public. Obviously, there's a lot of busy traffic around the area. I do also want to mention the perimeter fence in the center. You can see that in the center is a square. That's a perimeter fence around the crane that we wanted to make sure we limited all struck by and caught in betweens that may occur on site with a large crane. Then we move into the site-specific safety. We'll start out with the safety and health indoctrination and enforcement. So just notifying the workers and the subcontractors on site of what our expectations are and the federal government's. Making sure that everybody's aware of how we're going to go about limiting any safety infractions that we may have on site. Again, then we move into training. So making sure that everybody has the valid credentials and certifications that they need to perform their job. We don't want anybody getting into a situation that they are not prepared for or do not have the right certification to complete. Moving into substance abuse, there will be random drug testing throughout construction, and there's a no tolerance policy. If somebody does test positive for a substance in their system, they will be transported to a hospital for reevaluation. If someone does test positive a second time, they will be removed from site. And then we move into COVID-19 and infectious diseases. Obviously, this is a running target at this point. We want to make sure that we keep everybody safe. As you can see, we're social distancing right now, but just making sure that everybody's aware that we need to wear masks at all times and make sure that everybody's following the guidelines so that nobody feels unsafe on site. Then we move into OSHA's Big Four. We do have site-specific safety hazards that we want to speak on, but these OSHA Big Four I wanted to hit. Electrical hazards, fall hazards, struck by hazards, and caught in betweens. OSHA really puts an emphasis on these for all job sites. So we do have these incorporated in our site-specific safety, and we do acknowledge them, and they are a huge point to safety on the job site. But we do have other safety infractions or other things that we feel that are more important to note with the safety hazards, the 5 hazards we have. Then we move into hot work permits. Obviously, pre-evaluation, clearing out the zone, making sure that everyone's aware that hot work is occurring on site, and then closing out the site, making sure everybody can come back in and come back in and follow what the hot work permit and the hot work people had went through. So then we move into the silica plan. OSHA is really hit this hard the past few years. Silica Plan dust collecting devices on all tools, equipment. If you do not have a dust collecting device, then using water as you're doing it. This is going to be something that we want to limit exposure. Obviously, with COVID, we're wearing masks. It's going to help, but we want to limit silica dust as much as we can. Then we move into our Focus 5 safety hazards. So site security, signage, and fences are a huge point of emphasis. We want to limit public exposure to the site, make sure that nobody's coming into the site that's not authorized to. We will have CCTV coverage around the site, making sure that cameras are up so that we don't have any theft overnight, trying to deter as much theft as we can. And then proper signage throughout the site, making sure that everybody's aware of what's going on at all times. Our second safety hazard that we want to talk about is material handling. Obviously, congested site, we want to make sure that proper staging occurs, just-in-time delivery to limit all the congestion on site, making sure material is secluded out of the way, and that we have proper channels of getting material to the right subcontractors, and also hoisting and placing. Obviously, with the crane plan, lifting, we don't want to lift outside the limits, making sure everybody's out of the way. Cave-ins, also with this underground parking lot, we want to make sure that shoring and trench boxes are in place, and then any underground utilities, making sure they're out of the way, they're taken care of, and we've abated or demolished them to make sure that there isn't any interaction with those for person on utilities. Traffic control is another thing. Obviously, downtown Nashville, Rosa Parks Boulevard runs right past the job site. That's where one of our entrances is. So we want to limit street closure, making sure that we're not interfering with city traffic and having the city of Nashville on our case about being in the street. And then keeping heavy equipment away from worker traffic. So making sure that we limit those struck-bys, those caught-in-betweens, because those are big points of emphasis for us. And then finally, weather conditions. Obviously, back in February, there was a huge tornado that went through Nashville, and it caused a lot of devastation. So obviously, we want to make sure that we are up to date, making sure that nobody's on site or in a place where they may get hurt with a tornado or windstorm that may come through. And then with that, we do have a year-long site. So in the winter, cold, frostbite, making sure that workers have the right gloves on, proper protective equipment to work, and then heat exhaustion. We want to make sure everybody's got enough water and they're hydrated to do their job to the best of their capabilities.
As a quick summary of our presentation today, our final price was $38 million. Our handover date will be July 27, 2021. We are an ABC Diamond Step accredited program. Our company, a 0.61 EMR rating, and ranked 29th in the ENR Top 400 Contractors list. We believe that these numbers speak for themselves, and that we prove time and time again that we are keen to get after this project. Thank you. I'll hand it over for any questions, comments, or concerns for you guys.
All right. Well, thank you for that to your team. Appreciate all your hard work in putting that together. We do have a few questions. We'll kind of go round robin through the judges panel. I'll start off with one. You do have in your estimate, in your general conditions cost, you guys have $10,000 worth of value there for commissioning, but then you've also got some costs for commissioning included within your cost of work. Can you elaborate on if we need to look at commissioning cost as both of those numbers together? Is it a total of 60,000, or is there maybe some overlap there where we can recognize some savings?
There is a total of 60,000 for one. There's no overlap in that, and that was for two different site-specific things that were allocated in different areas. More of a bookkeeping thing for us, but there is no overlap there. That's for 60,000 commissioning for us.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, I'll let you and your team take it with any questions you have.
Yeah, I saw on the very first slide, you guys are projecting a 10% small business percentage. How do you guys intend on achieving that?
So we have community outreach programs that we like to work with. We also will strive to employ 27% of the employees on site that are specifically working, not just the companies. The people on site will be of the protected class. We love to work with other communities in, as being a company from Nashville, we do community outreach and work with different, let's say, schools and trade programs to get people involved in our construction on site, as well as the 10% of companies that we'd be contracting out in that same said class.
That's great. I've got one more question too. You mentioned in one of your plans the use of bulletproof doors around the perimeter. What's the lead time on bulletproof doors, and where are they coming from?
So we still have to contract out where we're going to get those specific doors from. But the lead time was, I think, 4 to 6 weeks for those specific doors. Granted, now with when we put this together, this is a few months back. With COVID, things will change and prices will fluctuate with that. I know we've had other projects where certain lead times have extended due to plants shutting down and not being able to get material in, but projected from before was 4 to 6 weeks.
And that would be on us too, to make sure that we're coordinating enough that we do give some extra lead time as far as on our end in ordering them to make sure that there isn't that COVID delay or try to circumvent that COVID delay.
Great.
Sure. This is Andrew Hepler. I've got just a quick question on your estimate and your clarifications and assumptions.
Yes.
In your CNAs, you state that tie-in work will only be done outside of normal working hours. What represents tie-in work, and why can it not be done during normal working hours?
I can take this. With the electrical stands coming in from the street, we want to do the tie-in work either on weekends or after hours. That's just to ensure that there's not as many employees on the site to be infected by the tie-in work. I mean, once we're full capacity, we could have up to 250 employees on the job site at a time. We don't want 250 employees being infected by our tie-in work, especially with electrical stands. We want the power to be, constant as much as possible.
Okay. I've got one other question on the CNAs. So you state that overtime is not included in the estimate, but may be required between 3:30 and 9 p.m. When would you need overtime, and are the costs included with the cost to work? If they're not in the cost to work, do you intend for the owner to pay for them?
We do not intend to have any overtime when working, but when we do with certain things, tie-ins and things of that nature, there'll have to be overtime that will not be back to the owner. That'll be on us for on our end there to cover. But we will do our best to mitigate the overtime hours that will be spent. But we also will probably end up changing with the flowing of COVID, trying to space out hours and shifts. But this is something that we are logistically working through as this is a fluid scenario that we've been trying to track and chase down, granted through the CDC recommendations and things of that nature. But
okay.
Cool. This is Joanna. So it looks like you guys didn't list any federal experience. So kind of two-part question. One is, how are you going to bring the experience that you have and apply it to a federal project? And then two, what do you guys see as the biggest risk or challenge with it being a federal project?
So a big thing for a federal project, of course, is going to be our site security. We put a heavy emphasis on site security, CCTV cameras, putting them around critical points in the projects, around the trailers, around laydown areas, and then as well as putting a 24-hour camera from an overview of the project and from the outside perimeter of the project, having us see who's walking around, and then having people check in on the site throughout the night through site security companies and contracting that out.
And I would like to add that even if we don't have federal experience, we definitely do have state experience with the 2 City Hall building that we've done and the Belmont University building.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll jump in. I'm going to jump back to what Andrew was talking about with tie-ins. You guys have a great completion day with the electrical vault. What's your plan to coordinate with Nashville Electric Service here in town? Make sure that everything with regards to permanent power goes well.
I mean, with that, normally with the electric company, you have a set date when you do a tie-in. That's planned, that's scheduled that you would do a tie-in. That's the same thing that we will do here. We'll set a date, we'll stick with it. If we have to change it, we'll give that notice to them. Normally, electric companies are pretty good about that, I'd like to say, with experience. But as soon as they are ready with that time, we'd have to be ready for our tie-in on our side.
And again, coordination would be a huge thing as far as COVID and everything that's going on. What guidelines they need us to follow and what we expect out of them as well.
Okay. You guys did an awesome job outlining safety. I thought it was really cool how you brought up some of the bigger OSHA concerns. And I liked your crane layout. One thing I did notice, do you guys have a plan with the adjacent buildings for making sure that you're not flying steel over the building right next to the courthouse? It's also called the Burger Building.
Sorry, what was that? I apologize.
So there's a building on the southwest corner of the courthouse called the Burger Building. It's a brick building. It's on the plans. Just making sure that in your safety documents you guys are accounting for ensuring that you're not swinging steel over that building. So where the crane's getting set up, you guys have a plan just to make sure that you're clear of the building. That building is occupied.
Yep. No, that we as our crane layouts go, we try to make sure that we're staying away from the building as much as possible. With our layouts that we have with the truck delivery, we tried to make sure that they were at a good distance away from the building to make sure that we weren't lifting towards the building at all. Obviously, if we can, we'll try to use that further entrance as we start out. That's further away, swing through the site more and just don't even involve the building at all. Obviously, if it comes to a point where we do have to lift close, we would have to make sure that we are coordinating with them, making sure that they're aware of everything that's going on, clearing out the building maybe, but I would strongly advise against that, even coming close to the building.
Awesome.
I've got one more question. Looking at your LEED scorecards, you guys did achieve the required points for LEED. But I was looking at the innovation and design. You guys are tracking to get over 40% water use reduction on this project. How do you intend to do that?
We intend to have high efficiency is going to be the key in this scenario in every way, shape, and form. Having high efficiency units and things of that nature, and as well as having the high efficiency plumbing and using those as a way to mitigate wasting water. I believe they call them low flush toilets and things of that nature we'll be installing to bring down our waste and to reduce anything that we can that would be, again, as I said, wasted and trying to only use what's necessary on site and setting our product up.
And to add on to that, with COVID, there are maybe some changes that the owner would want to make with faucets, limiting exposure to the individuals that are in the building, getting higher quality faucets. So just limiting
touch-free.
Yeah, touch-free.
Great.
All right, Daniel, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to hear from the team what you consider your top risk or concern on the project overall.
I think the biggest concern that we're going to have is the site security. To be completely honest with you, Nashville's a tourist town. So when they come, they're in downtown Nashville already. When they see a big crane in the center of the city, everybody kind of looks at it. So they're going to want to go over and check it out. Well, we want to make sure that we have those security measures in place, people on site overnight to watch the gates, make sure that theft isn't going on, and then the CCTV that we have incorporated for coverage, just to make sure that nothing's getting stolen, nobody's on site, and has the ability to even get hurt on site. Any of the public, just keeping them out as much as possible. that was our biggest concern.
All right, very good. Chris Woodling, any questions from you?
Sorry, trying to find the mute button. You touched on some COVID-related costs. Are all the measures for COVID taken care of in your cost proposal as it currently stands, or would you be seeking change order for any COVID-related costs?
Yes, when we put this bid together in February, early March, this was not a factor of ours initially. As we handed in our bid in April, we went off the same completion date of March. So we did not factor in, and we'd be seeking a change for some small items, a touch list, temperature takes, and maybe setting up masks, hand sanitizers, and maybe even doing the small things like beefing up our sanitation around site, bringing in companies to do sanitation when we have build-ins and our rough-ins complete, and when we have our porta potties and things of that nature, making them maybe 2-3 times a week, having them cleaned instead of just a typical one time a week. And also we want to invest in contact tracing, and if someone was to come on site, being able to figure out who in his team he came in contact with, and if they were social distancing, if they were safe distance away, or if they had to work in close proximity during a specific time, and trying to trace that back to anybody he could have been in contact with.
And with COVID, it is changing. I've been dealing with COVID and monitoring it throughout the whole situation, trying to catch up as much as I can, but it's a day-to-day. We learn new information every day. So just being able to be flexible, we may need a change order. There may be a point where we, knock on wood, hopefully come out of this COVID crisis that we're in right now, and everything is resolved, and then we may not need a change order. But as far as right now, we will need that, and COVID is going to be a high point of emphasis for us.
I would like to add that, as Bailey said, we'd have mandatory masks 24/7 on job site, but even inside the building, until we have at least conditioned air running throughout the building, maintaining that 6-foot distance no matter what.
And as a follow-up, then, any of your key trades, have you checked with any of your potential trade partners as far as COVID and how it is affecting them in relation to supply, fabrication, or craft resources?
Yes, we would be especially communicating with specific things that have been at a delay are site furnishings. We found that a lot of imports come in from different areas, and we've had maybe a little bit of a hard time getting those to site on time. But coordination is going to be the key here in this situation. We're going to reach out to any trades and ask them straight up, will you have problem getting this light fixture here at this time? Will you have, and we want them to be blunt with us, yes, we're looking at a 1 week delay, we're looking at a 2 week delay. And then we can factor that into our schedule moving forward. But yes, we are moving to set up coordination meetings virtually and having them be very blunt and honest, and working with our teams very closely to ensure that we have procurement that these said items get on site on time.
And that comes in play too with our weekly job meetings, whether it be in person or via Zoom, going through the schedule between all the contractors and understanding with our general contractor ourselves where people stand.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. All right. Well, we've got about a minute left, so I'm going to wrap it up with one final question. Just kind of a follow-on to the COVID one, since you brought up a few points. It sounds like we're going to be, expecting we've got some risk we need to accommodate as far as COVID protocols with your team. Do you guys have a rough order of magnitude of what you think those might be worth, or what we're looking at?
We are currently working with our team and our outside contractors to give you pricing and what that change could entail. We're still kind of reaching out and getting numbers back. So when we receive numbers back, we can discuss further of those situations and what that's going to look like. And we can discuss further of what the owners deem necessary and if they want us to pull anything out, but we will be adamant to only entail the most important and critical parts to keep everyone on site safe every day.
And again, with that, if you're looking at a cost perspective, just from past jobs that I've been dealing with, at the beginning, it's going to be a little higher for COVID pricing. It may hit a low a little bit, but when you get to peak performance and when you have the most amount of employees on site and workers on site, it'll increase again, and it may go down as the job site goes back into a little bit of a low, or not as many people on site.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate from all the judges here to all your team. Appreciate all the hard work that you guys have put in to this process starting all the way back in January, February. Appreciate the time it took over the summer to kind of go this different route and participate in step 3 here in August as you're ramping up, getting ready for school. So with that said, we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow for the debrief, and we'll let Amanda and her team at that point give you guys kind of a deep dive into their challenges building a project and how they did it, and open the floor to you to ask us some questions. So from all the judges, again, thanks for your time and efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Great job, guys.
Thank you.